own government and wanted to be left alone. It didn't want any part of the ever-growing federal government. And I'm still in that camp. Now, the Washington Artillery was a local unit in New Orleans, and it was known as a very high-class, if you would, outfit. They never drew any rations from the state of Louisiana, nor from the Confederate government when it went into service for that. The men of the battery were doctors and lawyers and kind of the upper crust, if you would, of New Orleans. They didn't call for their uniforms to come from the government or any of their ammunition. The war lasted for a little over 4 years, and in the process, over 750,000 people were killed. Now, if you take the casualties of the Revolutionary War, War of 1812, Spanish-American War, the war with Mexico for Texas, World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, and the Middle East, and add all of those together, you will not come up to 750,000 men. I got some competition back there with a siren. In any event, it was a very devastating war. For every 4 Southerners who went to war, 1 didn't come home. 1 came home missing an arm or a leg. So it was a very severe impact upon the South. Further, the Yankee Army occupied the South for over 17 years. And we've only done that in a couple of countries since. Today we're going to do a demonstration for you of the firing of an original Confederate gun. This is cannon that you see behind me is one of 2 that survived the war, made by the Noble Brothers Foundry in Rome, Georgia. This one happened to be made in November of 1861, so it's even older than I am. We're going to first do a demonstration of just loading the gun so that you can observe what the men are doing. The next time we do it, we'll put a half round in, not really even a half round. A full round would have consisted of 1.25 pounds of black powder and a projectile that weighed 6 pounds. We have no projectile in this one at this time, and we're only shooting about a half pound of powder. So multiply what you hear by about 3, and you'll know what the report of one of these guns sounded like. Further, it would recoil when the explosion of the gun went off and roll back somewhere between 4 and 12 feet, depending on how hard the surface was that the cannon was on. So you didn't want to be standing behind it, directly behind it, when the gun went off. The gun had a range of about 1 mile, had 3 types of projectiles. First one was a solid shot, and the solid shot was just an iron ball that they used to knock down bridges or buildings or tear up fortifications or hit another artillery piece and disengage it by disabling it. The second type of shot was a case shot or shell, which was again a 6-pound ball, but it was hollow inside and had in it a powder charge. Powder charge would explode upon a predetermined fuse that was set in it up to 10 seconds. When that went off, it then shattered the ball and sent the contents of the shell out into the oncoming Yankees. The third type of shot that this gun used was a canister. And from the name you can tell it looked like a can. But in that can were 27 iron balls, about 1 inch in diameter. So it turned this gun into a giant shotgun, which would eliminate a large number of the invading Yankee horde. Now, unfortunately, this gun was a failure, as was all of the Southern guns. Otherwise, you would be standing today and paying your taxes to the Confederate States of America instead of the occupying country, United States of America. Now, with that, I'm going to turn it over to our Sergeant Major, who is going to do the dry drill for you. It will not go off this time. We'll tell you when it's going to and tell you to plug your ears if you want to. Sergeant?
Load! Shell! 2-second fuse! Load!
Nice, bud.
That's around.
Right. No. Right. Very sweet. Very sweet.
Frickin' prime. Make ready. 5. Boom.
Now they'll go through. Now they'll go.
Can you explain why it was a failure?
Yeah, we didn't win the war, or the first round of it. It's not over, you know. It's gone dead. Hello, there we are. Thank you. The gentleman asked me why the gun was a failure, and the failure was that we're not a free country known as the Confederate States of America. Now the crew is going to go through a firing of a blank charge for you, and you'll notice they'll go through the same procedures they did before, except they'll be putting in a powder charge this time. And again, it's less than a half round of what you would have normally heard, and it has no projectile in front of it. And when he says ready and the men come back at an angle and cover one ear, that'll be your notice to either cover your ears or whatever you'd like to do. I would certainly suggest if any of you have hearing aids, turn them off. You won't need them. Sergeant?
Load! Shell! 2-second fuse! Load!
Nice, bud.
Advance around. Frickin' prime. Make ready. Fire.
Oops, we had a shell in there that time.
Clear piece.
They're now going to clear the piece as if they were going to start another round. Sergeant, would you have the men connect the limber to the gun and begin moving it in that direction?
Yes, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, if they needed to move the gun, they would connect it to the limber, which is this box back here on wheels. That carried the ammunition. Behind that would have been a caisson. You've heard of that in the Marine hymn, when the caissons go rolling along. The caisson would have had 3 of those boxes of ammunition. And this whole rig would have been pulled by 4 to 6 horses. One of the largest casualties in the war, not only in people and resources, but there were over 1 million horses killed. The reason for that, of course, is if you wanted to get supplies to your army, you had a wagon train pulled by horses. If you had a column of men coming and supplies coming, and that sort of thing, all of it would have been pulled by horses. So in order to stop another gun from moving or something of that nature, they would have hitched up 4 to 6 horses at the front of the limber there and hauled it in that manner. That concludes the presentation. If someone has a question, I'll be glad to try to answer it for you. Appreciate y'all coming out today. Hope you have a great day.
Make ready.